in the heart of Peterborough. This is Salam Radio.
Assalamu alaikum. Good evening. You're listening to Wealth Made Simple with your host Shaz Nawaz on Salam Radio 106.2 FM, and I have in the studio with me my co-pilot
Kieron Bateman. Salam alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Kieron, how are you today?
I am all good, all the better for being here.
We missed you last week.
I missed you.
Did you have a good week off?
I did. I had a very productive week off.
How about last Monday you were thinking, I want to go and do the show?
That is exactly what I was thinking while I was putting up blinds in the living room.
Yeah, because no competition. But today we have a very interesting topic, and before we get on to that, you're listening to Wealth Made Simple, and we talk about all concepts to do with wealth in terms of foundations, growth, strategy, keeping, holding, growing, sustaining, conserving, and everything in between. And we'd love for you to participate. You can call us on 01733 602 133. You can text us on 07411 191 062, or comment on any of the live streams which are on Facebook, YouTube, X, or Twitch. Kieron, today on Wealth Made Simple, we're going to talk about starting very young and educating children, because that's, I think, a very important topic.
I think it's something that is so poorly done by so many, and by society in general. And it's something that gets completely overlooked by the adult population in general. And yeah, I completely agree. It's something that the younger you start, I mean, there's nothing wrong with starting when they start learning to count. Once they've learned to count, they can learn finances.
Well, counting is all about finances, isn't it? If you think about it in a roundabout way. Numbers.
In a roundabout way, yeah.
And I think because people aren't taught financial education in the sense that you and I mean financial education, they then kind of think the children should have some kind of a similar upbringing in a different way sometimes, but they don't always pay enough attention to teaching children how, in those early and formative years, how to go about learning about education when it comes to finances. And I think it's incredibly important because when you go in an open, wide world, I feel children, and I'll talk about my own experiences, in fact, Kieron, I don't think we're ready. I don't think I was ready.
I definitely wasn't ready. I mean, my first bout of financial education, if you like, was, oh, wait, I've got to do a rental application? How do I do that? Deposit money, holding security, what? No one ever goes through that with you.
They don't, do they? And I think we all underestimate how much it actually costs. I mean, it might be slightly different for you, but in the Asian community, generally speaking, we don't tend to pay any type of ground rent or boarding charge to our parents, generally speaking. So
oh, that must be nice.
Yeah. and then
Oh,
it is nice until you become a parent.
my parents took 20% of my paper round money.
You know what? I personally, I think that's good.
Yeah, my first paper round set of money, I earned myself £12, and I got home and I was super excited because I've got £12 to spend.
And Dad said,
and this was back in
£2.40, mate, or whatever.
Back in the 90s, and yeah, my father was like, "Excellent, you are now earning money. You can pay rent." I was like, "What? No." He goes, "Also, no more pocket money. You're now earning for yourself." Wait, what?
and you thought you were in the money.
Yeah.
So with that experience, okay, then you go out in the open wide world, and let's say you buy your own house and you move out, and there's so many costs that you're unaware of because you never participated in those conversations, generally speaking. You never paid those. And I'm not saying everybody doesn't. I'm not saying everybody in the Asian community doesn't pay ground or boarding rent or boarding charges. Maybe some of them do, but generally speaking, most people I talk to don't. and some of them might contribute as when they start working towards some of the bills, but they don't fully participate and have an understanding. And just the food cost, the shopping, and then you got the council tax, and then you got the gas, electric, the mortgage, the water. Okay, then and everything else that adds up. You soon realize this is an expensive business.
Insurances that are compulsory for certain mortgage products.
Yeah, including life insurance.
Yeah.
And I think people just aren't ready. And not just that. I hear a lot of people saying, as in adults, I'm not good with numbers. Yeah. I'm not good with finances. I don't quite understand it. Never been taught it. Never really been interested because I have an aversion to it. And yet they don't think to teach their children that, thinking I have some form of an aversion to it. Maybe I should start my children early. And I'm not saying it's their fault, by the way. Just people don't stop and think about these things.
No, and people in general, in my experience, they repeat what they have learnt. And so because they were never taught it, they had to figure it out by themselves. They then in turn don't teach it because it doesn't occur to them, because it's not a conversation that you had. It was, oh, well, this is just a thing. Okay, right. Okay, thanks, Mum and Dad. I'm moving out now. Okay, cool. Off you go. Go do your rental application, your mortgage application, whichever boat you're in when you move out. If you're lucky enough to be, going straight for a mortgage straight away, I applaud you. But the majority will rent first for a bit. Okay.
It's a long and big bit at the minute. Well, it has been for the last 25 years, but if not longer.
That the first time you look at all of those things that we just said, water, gas, council tax, insurances, food shop, luxury items, making sure that of all the ridiculous things, something that you never realise as a child, cleaning the house. Yeah. Cleaning the house on, regularly, keep the house in a good condition, has to be done regularly.
But then you've got your internet, you've got, you might have Sky, TV, Netflix, Amazon, whatever the
streaming
platforms there are. It all adds up.
All of a sudden, that paycheck you thought you had,
you don't have.
Doesn't stretch very far.
So you think, can I move back with my parents?
Yeah.
So, but I mean, that's just part of the story, because, I mean, there's plenty of research out there, by the way, and there are studies that show children who receive a financial education in the early and formative years tend to make better financial choices when they become adults, and they're more comfortable with these things. They're more confident. They tend to be more competent as well, and they understand the value of money earlier in life. Therefore, they can budget confidently. They can talk about finances confidently, and some of them tend to adopt this mindset of investing and saving from a younger age.
Yeah, and when you look at overall financial education overall, I mean, I personally think some of this should be taught in schools as part of your maths class, and how to fill in your forms and how to understand your budget. And to a degree, some of it is, but it's not labelled as such. And I think it is the role of the parents to reinforce this when you get further down the road. But they have this, like you say, parents have this aversion. Oh, I'm not very good with numbers. So there's almost a fear of having that open conversation, that open two-way communication. We're going to go through the bills this month, daughter, son. Would you want to sit with mum, dad, and go through it with us so that you understand what's going on? I mean, as a kid, my goal in life, because explains how much you understand as a child, was I wanted to earn £24,000 a year, because in my brain that was £2,000 a month.
It was a lot of money back in those days.
Back in those days, yeah, it was a really good salary back in those days. Okay, fine, but 24 grand a year, even back then, was not £2,000 a month. It never has been.
You got to pay tax.
But that's not taught to children either.
No.
And so, yeah, the money to a child generally has no value. I want that. Bank of mum and dad, I get that. There's no value transaction there. So when it does become your turn to have to put a value on that, you've no idea whether, well, for a start, you've no idea whether you're getting ripped off.
Yeah. But I think teaching, and there's lots of people out there who seek financial independence as they become adults and grown-ups, and they have this desire to have the independence, in terms of not being tied down to a particular way of living just because they've got debts or bills to pay. So a lot of people I speak to, and you've obviously been in the room many times, especially when we're talking to groups of people, talk about financial independence. And in fact, that's one of the biggest ones. What do you want to get out of life? Financial freedom is the word they use, but freedom and independence will assume both mean the same thing in this wider context. Yet if you teach children financial literacy, earlier on in their life, they're more likely to become financially independent when they're adults, because they understand these things, and then they can manage their finances better. They're more likely to avoid debt and bad and toxic debt, which we've covered previously, on a previous episode, and they're more likely to make more informed investment choices, because it's likely they probably started investing when they were younger in some shape, way, form, act, or manner. It just makes sense, doesn't it? When you talk through it and think about it.
For all those people who, and last week you covered a little bit about get-rich-quick schemes in terms of generating wealth. And that's all well and good. I don't personally believe they exist. I think they are a dangerous rabbit hole to go down. There is no such thing as a get-rich-quick scheme in general, short of winning the lottery. But I don't play the lottery.
That's not in your control, though, is it?
That's not in your control. But generating wealth is time consuming. Fundamentally, it is. There is no general shortcut.
If you look at, generally speaking, but let's not talk about the oil industry, gas and oil industry, or the tech industry. Generally speaking, if you look at most business owners, it takes a long time. You're right, it takes a long time. And that's just the way it is.
To quote one of the wealthiest people on the planet, Warren Buffett, why don't more people do what you do, Mr. Buffett? Well, because nobody wants to get rich slow.
Yeah,
anyone can do what Warren Buffett did and is doing, looks at stocks, takes a long-term view, understands, he's got some education, and there has been some luck in his path, but in general, to get to where he's at, there's very little luck involved. A lot of it is forethought, information, understanding, financial literacy,
patience and persistence.
And when was the first? So interesting. When was the first time the public really heard of Warren Buffett?
I'd say maybe 25 years ago, about 30 years ago, maybe.
No, you're
I'm thinking about me, am I?
Yeah. No, well, you've been into self-development, financial education, the Financial Institute for a long, long time. So you probably heard of him before
in the 90s,
others. But the wider world didn't start hearing about him until 2008, because he made some remarks on Bitcoin when it came out, and then he
was right, was he?
But he was also one of the first billionaire. Was it billionaire? Not billionaire. Yeah, one of the first billionaires, public billionaires, as it were. And to pass certain thresholds like 50 billion, so on and so forth.
I think he might have even hit 100 at one point. Can't remember now,
but the point is that he's been investing in companies, in stocks and shares in the stock exchange since, I think, the 70s.
A long time, yeah.
So since the 70s, he's a billionaire now, but he wasn't a billionaire back then. Mm-hmm. He wasn't a billionaire in the 80s or the 90s. Took 30 years.
Probably longer.
For that to become a realisation.
Slowly but surely, yeah. I think it's Barclay Hathaway, isn't it, his company?
Yes.
So, it took him a long time.
Yeah.
So let's get into the nuts and bolts, Kieron. People listening or watching the live stream and thinking, well, where do I start? I don't know where to start. You guys are talking about this stuff. It's really important. I get it. I like it. Want to start. Where do I start? And I think, as you said, when children learn to count, with that, you can get them involved in financial literacy and start bringing some conversations about finances and money. Obviously, you've got games out there which you can play, which gets kids involved, engaged, have a bit of fun as well. But I think with that, I'd start by slowly trying to explain to children how much things cost, where money comes from, even if it's just in terms of an employment, and then talk about saving, spending, giving, investing, slowly, so that they can get their mind into, oh, this is how this works.
And I think you should also, and this is just my opinion, avoid the phrase, Mum, Dad, I want this. Yeah, well, tough, because money doesn't grow on trees. 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 Okay. With so many things in life, and children, I think, understand this on a subliminal level, but they won't understand it on a conscious level. But when there is a problem, for example, in the workplace, and, you know, take our office, for example, I never come to you with just a problem. I come to you with a problem, and here's the solution. These are the things we can do to fix it. And like I say, on a subliminal level, I think children understand that concept very well. But when you say to them, money doesn't grow on trees, you're essentially just giving them a problem, and you're not offering any further explanation.
It's bad programming, isn't it? Money doesn't grow on trees. We're working to pay the bills. You've got to be doing something bad to be making loads of money. Money is the root to evil, or all evil. The love of money is the root to all evil. All that kind of stuff is negative connotations.
Yeah, and that's the problem with the... Most people have, and I'm straying a little into mindset here, but most people have an internal loop of phrases and things they tell themselves. It's why people say, and it has been said, that you should never be self-deprecating, even if it's only in jest, because your mind doesn't understand the difference. It hears you say the words, and it applies them. So that's why positive affirmations are such a big thing. And the same goes for money. If you are constantly telling your children, money doesn't grow on trees, money is bad, money is the root of all,
blah blah blah.
You're creating in them this financial loop of money is difficult, money is a problem, money is an issue. Money is difficult, money is a problem, money is an issue. Is it any wonder that they don't do well with it in the future?
And in the UK, obviously talking about money to some extent it's not
kind of frowned upon.
It's a bit of a taboo topic, isn't it?
It is a little bit.
Let's not talk about money. And I think people need to just get comfortable with it.
Yeah. Okay? I disagree. Talk about money.
Talk about money and be comfortable with it. So start early.
Yep.
And then secondly, I think it's important, Kieron, is set a good example. Because children learn more by observing than by listening.
Yes, they do.
So how are you doing things? How are you managing your finances? If you're looking to book a holiday, get the children involved, or get a child involved. We'll look around and see where we get the best deal from, the hotels, the flights, whatever it might be, even if it's just a holiday to the local seaside or a trip to the local seaside. Get them involved so they start thinking like that, that you've got to shop around and you've got to try and find the best deal that you can. And you've got to manage the process. I think the process is really important.
Very important.
And when they see that, then they're more likely to say, I quite like what's going on here. Can I get more involved?
Yeah.
Children are by nature intrigued by what's going on, inquisitive. So they want to learn more. So I think setting a good positive example on money management is incredibly important. We already talked about obviously games and activities, both in terms of actual physical games, but activities you can come up with yourself. Yeah. Like we're going to book a holiday. Okay, let's see, look around and see who can find the best deal.
If you've got more than one child, let's have a competition, see who can find the best deal.
There you go.
Yeah. You've both got access to the internet. You can go, but see who can find the best deal.
Well, let's all do it.
And we'll all do it. Yeah,
let's all do it.
Family game.
Yeah.
I think...
And then have some kind of a prize at the end, some kind of a reward. So children...
Incentive.
Yeah. And so they learn.
Yeah.
Effort equals reward.
Yeah.
Or effort with good outcome equals reward.
And games like Monopoly, I love Monopoly.
I know you do.
I've got 8 different versions of it, I think. But anyway, that by the by. I've always been super competitive when it comes to Monopoly, and I learned very quickly that the best way to win at Monopoly, I hope you're listening, kids, best way to win at Monopoly is to be cash poor but property rich.
100%.
I don't care what property I land on, I buy it.
Stuff, yeah.
I buy. I don't have enough. Okay, can I draw money in from, wherever to buy more properties, more. Whereas my sister liked having cash, and
cash goes, assets stay, and
you get an idea of how often the board got flipped because she didn't win.
Yeah, I learned that very early on when I was playing Monopoly. I think the first, second game, then when I lost, hold a minute, that person won. Oh, well, they own most of the real estate.
Yeah.
Okay, so they were going to win because I was just paying them out.
Yeah, and Monopoly is a really good cut down idea of life. If you just have a job and you don't invest anything, you go around the board, you pass go, you collect your monthly salary. You go around the board, you pass go, you collect your monthly salary. If you invest, you get results. And I think that's a really important lesson, and Monopoly teaches it fantastically.
Yeah, if you invest right, hopefully you'll get a much better return. And I think that in itself, Kieran, is one of the biggest, I say, lessons, you could say advice you can share with anybody.
Yes.
It's that slow trickle-down effect of investments over a longer time period. And it's eye-opening, and you can link it back to Warren Buffett if you like, but you look at, if I invest £1, what's the impact of that, or in terms of return over 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years, and then you increase that amount, and you soon realize this is big numbers over a period of time, but this is big numbers.
Well, I mean, Mary Poppins said it
You're
best.
listening to Salam Radio, and it's now time for Maghrib Azan. This Azan is sponsored by Park Foods. Come and see the difference.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر، الله أكبر، لا إله إلا الله.
الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم، وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة وابعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته. اللهم آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم بك نحيا وبك نموت وإليك المصير. رضينا بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم نبيا ورسولا.
Stay tuned to Salam Radio after this short ad break.
Could you spare a few hours each month to provide support to people who are going through tough times? If so, Peterborough Samaritans are looking for volunteers who are empathetic and open-minded, and we'd love to hear from you. We run regular information sessions where you can find out more about what it means to volunteer for Samaritans. If you are at least 18 years of age and would like to know more, please email volunteer@peterboroughsamaritans.org.
Attention foodies! Discover a world of flavours at Pack Foods, the largest ethnic supermarket in Peterborough. Shop our vast selection of authentic ingredients from around the globe, including spices, marinated fish and meats, and exotic fruits at incredibly low prices. And the best part? We offer free parking. No more hunting for a spot. Come visit us today and explore the incredible range of flavours at Pack Foods, 232 Lincoln Road.
At Cake Inn, all our cakes and slices are freshly baked for that delicious taste. At Cake Inn, we bake 100% vegetarian and halal eggless fresh cream cakes. Delicious flavoured cakes for birthdays and weddings, ceremonies and all other occasions, with free customised messages, even balloons and candles too. Order for delivery or collection from Cake Inn, 489 Lincoln Road, PE1 2PE, and your cake could be ready within 2 hours. Find out more and order online at cakein.co.uk or call 01733 496 584.
Satisfy your cravings at Ibrahimi Buffet Restaurant. Enjoy a tantalising variety of Chinese, Italian, Pakistani and comfort food favourites, from starters to desserts. Kids under 5 dine for free, so bring the whole family to our location at 63 Sycamore Avenue. Open every day from 5 p.m. till 10:30 p.m. Call us on 01733 313131 or book online to reserve your table. Ibrahimi-restaurant.co.uk. Every bite is a delight at Ibrahimi Buffet Restaurant.
Fancy the true taste of Middle Eastern Kurdish food? Asia Restaurant gives you the unique fusion of flavours from Turkey, Iraq, Syria and Iran. Eat in at 5 Fitzwilliam Street, Peterborough, PE1 2RU. Or order through Just Eat, Uber Eats or order through our website, asiarestaurant.co.uk. Call us on 01733 562 530. Asia Restaurant, the true taste of the Middle East.
Discover peace of mind with Islamic wills from W&P Legal and Mariam Khan. Expertly tailored to respect Islamic principles and UK law, ensuring your legacy is honoured. We offer tax-efficient wills, probate, lasting power of attorney and more. Trust us for a culturally sensitive estate plan. Your legacy, our priority. Call W&P Legal now on 01778 252 301.
to Peterborough's community radio, Salam.
Assalamu alaikum. Good evening. You're listening to Salam Radio on 106.2 FM, and it's the Wealth Made Simple show with myself, Shaz Nawaz, and I have my co-colleague
Kieran Bateman.
And today we're talking about teaching children all about money and financial independence. And if you want to get involved, we'd always welcome your participation. Put my teeth back in this week.
Yep, it was mine the other week.
You can call us on 01733 602 133. You can text us on 07411 191 062. Or you can comment on any of the live streams which are on Facebook, YouTube, X or Twitch. You were talking about Mary Poppins earlier.
I was. And Mary Poppins said it best when it comes to investment. Tuppence, cautiously invested. I'm skipping the in the bank because, banks today. But soon comes pound. And, okay, yeah, 2p becomes a pound. And bear in mind that Mary Poppins was set around...
Before you were born, yeah.
Before you were born. I want to say the 60s? 50s,
Probably.
60s?
A while back, yeah.
It was, or it might have even been, set earlier than that. I honestly can't remember. But anyway, 2 pence was a lot of money back then, and a pound was, on your way to being proper wealthy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. In the 60s, yeah. 50s, 60s, yeah.
And that's, but it's that process, isn't it, of, and, you see online all the time, the little jokes. Would you rather have £10,000 today or a penny that doubles every day for 30 days?
Yeah, I've seen that calculation. It's eye-opening, isn't it?
Well, yeah. What do you happen to remember the answer?
In terms of what you did, what?
A penny doubled every day for 30 days.
Oh yeah, the penny's going to end up being a lot more than 10,000, I'd say.
Yeah. I'll have a quick
you have
look.
a quick look if you like. I've done it in
I've done it
different
before.
guys, but talking to people about investment. But while look at that, I was sharing some tips with people in terms of what they could do. So I said, start early. Set a good example because children learn from what they see. Get them involved in games and activities. And I think what's important, Kieran, is to have open conversations where you create a safe space where children can ask questions, but also they feel very relaxed talking about money and enjoy it.
Yep.
Go on, then you're going to give me and all of us
so
information.
If you doubled a penny every day for 30 days, you would start on day 1 with a penny.
Yes.
On day 30, you would have 5,368,709 pounds and 12 pence. Let me say that again. 5 million.
Is that what Uncle Google tells us?
That is what Uncle Google tells us. And Uncle Google is never wrong. But I think, going back to what you said about having that open conversation, and is also realizing that, we said earlier that a lot of people, I'm bad with money, so, and because of that, they don't want to have that conversation, or they're fearful of that conversation because they don't feel qualified to have that conversation. They're bad with money, so they're just going to teach their children to be bad with money. When, in fact, I believe it's the opposite. Even if you are bad with money and you are in lots of debt, your child is not in debt yet. They're not going to carry on your burdens, and they should not be carrying on the sins of the father. And so, if you show them where
why just the father?
But if you show them where you've gone wrong, I've always believed that I'm not good with money, and this is where I've gone wrong, and I've got too much debt here, and I've got too much debt. I don't want that for you, so I want you to understand what I do, and don't do everything I do. If I could go back and do it again, I would do this differently. Have that conversation. Don't be afraid of it, because it's really important. Because you'd be amazed at how many children will respond really positively to that sort of conversation.
And it helps you strengthen your own personal relationships with your children and creates a bond. But it also kind of forces you to learn more, because I think it's so important, Kieron, to explain to children where money comes from, how it's earned, what the different mechanisms are, be it employment, self-employment, okay, being an entrepreneur, or doing something else, and giving them a good insight into the history of money, which most people don't know, by the way.
Yeah.
And outside the scope of this particular episode, we can cover that on a different episode, by the way, which could be useful. Okay, where did money originate from, and how does this kind of system work, generally speaking? So it's gonna.
I'll cover that really, really quickly for you.
Go on then.
Because I have done this study, I can simplify and bring it back. Money is fundamentally a posh barter system.
Mm-hmm. It is, yeah.
That's all it is. I will give you X for X.
Exchange, yeah. I mean to exchange, yeah. But explaining that to children, and then I think having physical cash has still a lot of importance.
Yes.
Both in terms of saving, seeing it around, creating an abundance mindset with cash being around. And I'm talking about hundreds of pounds, just coins and some of the smaller notes, where they see it everywhere in the house.
Yeah. It normalizes it.
Rather than it being scarce.
Yeah.
And I think that they're not comfortable with, used to seeing. Like anything new, when you see it for the first time, you have a different feeling towards it, whatever it could be.
Yeah.
When you've seen it so many times, it's just second nature.
Yeah, it's very, very, very normal. I mean, growing up, we had, those old big wine things they store wine in to make the wine, the big jars. We had one of.
Why do you think I would know about big wine jars? By the way,
no, not you, but you know what I mean.
You're talking to yourself, are you?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I realize who I'm speaking to, and then go, yeah, you'll have never made your own. No, of course not. Okay, so you can get these big. They're like 25-litre jars. They're good for terrariums as well. You might have seen them in for plants for terrariums.
Mm-hmm.
But
I might have seen it in a Western movie, by the way.
Yeah, that too.
Hmm.
But growing up, my mum had one of those that she put coppers in. Just coppers, 2p's and 1p's. And now, as an adult, I also have a jar.
Guess what I used to have?
What did you have?
You know the answer. It's big.
A safe?
Coke bottle. It's big ones.
Big Coke
You should have known that.
I should have known that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But yeah, it only ever held coppers. And, periodically, I would get to count the money because I enjoyed that sort of thing because I'm sad. I enjoy counting money. Don't ask me why. And that big 25-litre jar would only ever amount to £25, £30. Now, as an adult, I think about money completely differently to my parents, and I know I do, because I also have a jar, but that jar doesn't just have coppers in it. That jar has whatever cash, notes, pound coins, whatever, is in my pocket when I get home. If I need cash when I'm going out, I go out and I withdraw more cash because there is an abundance surrounding it.
Yeah.
And then every so often, because I am a massive child and I recognize that, I take that jar of cash that is at home and I'll buy something nice for Charlie, or we'll go to the arcades at Hunstanton Beach, we'll get fish and chips, and then we'll go to the arcades, and I will do what I couldn't do as a child and just feed a machine because it's fun. But I know I can do that now.
Yeah. But you weren't having it because you've made that investment, that saving. And I think it's also very important, Kieron, to talk about the difference between need and want.
Yes, yeah. I mean, prime example there. I want to spend that money in the arcade.
You don't need to, yeah.
I don't need to.
Yeah. But most things people really want, but they think they need.
Yeah.
And want's one of those desires, which in a way is never ending, Is there was something else that you want bigger, better, different, new, shiny
Need is
object
a
syndrome?
very, very strong word. And I think people underestimate how strong need is. What do I need? I need food every day. Now, I don't need Michelin star gourmet food every day, but I do need water and some form of sustenance.
And some oxygen.
Yeah. That's a fundamental need of life.
Yeah.
I do need somewhere warm to stay at night. I need to pay my bills. Because there are consequences if you don't.
But I mean, linking that with other ones where children want more toys and more games and more consoles and more this, more that. So I know we talk about financial independence or financial freedom. For me, I think the key difference is financial discipline. Even when you've got the money, say, okay, where's the best way I can spend this? And I'm not just talking about investing every single penny, because I think that would be quite sad too. You got to have some fun, whatever fun may be. And we've talked about this before, where everybody has the one thing that they like, that they'll spend more money on than anything else.
Yeah, and sometimes
it's a hobby or activity or something that they partake in.
Yeah, and sometimes it's an unreasonable amount of money, and they recognise that. As long as you recognise it, and you're okay with that, fine. But you've got the discipline to go, okay, so...
Otherwise life would be dull, wouldn't it?
Yeah, very, very.
So I
very
think
dull.
having that one thing, I think it's cool.
I mean, for you, it's Coca-Cola.
Yeah, I mean, I drink litres every single day, thanks to people like you and others who just keep topping it up. But and I've even got one here in the studio. Well, I left it in the car. But I think
for me, it's coffee.
The discipline. Well, that and something else. But it's important to teach discipline because then you can make the right choices.
Yeah. And I think when it comes to that side of discipline, I think something that if you're undisciplined with money is very difficult to get your head around. But say, the new phone is coming out and you want the new phone because you need to be at the precipice of technological phones.
Bragging rights, you mean, yeah.
I mean, does it still make a phone call? Does it send a text message? Does it take photos? Okay, you're golden. But that aside, if you are that person that needs to have the new phone and, okay, fine, you want the new phone, you can have the new phone. Can you afford it now? No, I've got to get it on tick or on the never never, as it used to be called. Okay, so you shouldn't have it. You can't afford it. Okay, but I've got to get it now. Well, why? It's on offer.
Because I want it, whatever.
It's on offer. Okay. So it's half price. Okay, but you still can't afford it.
Yeah, the money,
You still haven't got the money. Oh yeah, but prices are going up next year. If I wait till next year, it will be 50% extra. Okay, but next year, will you be able to afford it? Oh yeah. I would rather wait till next year and buy it at a higher value when I can afford to buy it than get myself into debt now.
But that's the discipline, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's what I mean. That's the discipline, is knowing that, yes, you could have it now, that instant gratification.
But then comparing, so much, as you've seen, some phones cost a couple of grand, some even more than that, by the way.
Yeah.
And so if you think, well, if I buy a £250 phone, and rather than spending £2,000, and even though I'm going to pay £50 or £100 per month towards that phone because I'll put a 2-year contract on where the figure may work out to be, and if I invest that in 2 years' time, what's that going to look like?
Yeah.
Okay, and that will help you afford the new phone probably, okay, or get you towards that. And if you think like that for every single cost that you have, where you've got a choice, okay, you're soon going to be in a position where you're going to be investing quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
Irrespective of how much you earn, as long as you've got, because every time you make a choice, you can have something cheaper.
Yeah.
I'm not saying live a very frugal life, by the way, because as you know, I'm the last person to be preaching that to people. But okay, live well within your means, which is what I talked about last week when you weren't here.
Yes.
It's incredibly difficult to do within your means.
Below your means is even harder.
Yeah, below your means is even harder. And because there's so much temptation, isn't there? But over a period of time, it's a huge difference to your life.
Well, I mean, go back before I became financially literate. My phone bill back in the early 2000s, we're talking 2010, 2012, 13, things like that, my phone bill on a month was probably 50, 60, 70 quid, because I had the latest handset. It was all bundled in. It was all, all the rest of it. And now, when my provider texts me and says, the price of your plan is going up, as of next month, it's going to be
X amount,
£12. I'm like, £12? Absolutely not.
Can't afford that.
Can I find a better deal? I save up and I buy the handset outright. And this handset has lasted me since 2019. And
you've done well.
I have no intention of getting rid of it. I have no intention of upgrading it. Not at the moment. The phone works. Ultimately, and I'm in a nice position now where I can logically look at the phone and go, what do I need my phone to do? I need it to look at emails, look at social media, the social medias that I'm on. I need it to make phone calls, send text messages and WhatsApps, and maybe watch YouTube.
And partly you've been there, done that, but partly because you become more financially educated, literate, you've now seen better alternatives and options. I think with that, we were talking about children, is set savings challenges for them.
Yeah.
Where they look at how much they can save and what kind of a return they can get, and you can then participate and say, if you achieve X return, I'll give you Y, or when you get to £200, okay, return, I'll match that and give you £200.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, you'll have that child's attention, and they're going to be
you really will.
Going for gold.
Laser focused. And just nipping back to the phone analogy that I was just saying, is when that comes to children, when you look at, children, because having the latest handset is street credits, it is bragging rights. But if
instant gratification in a roundabout way, isn't it?
Yeah, but if you can get them to the point where, okay, I'm at now, if I'd have got to if you think back, I spent maybe 10 years on that, call it £50 a month plan. 10 years. That's £600 a month.
£6,000.
£6,000. Now, 10 years on my current plan at £12 a month is what?
1,200.
Yeah. I could have saved and invested £5,000.
Yeah. 4,800 plus, and
over
over the 10 years it would have grown.
Yeah.
Exponentially after a certain tipping point.
And this goes back to what we were saying earlier about start young, because if you can start that sort of thought process young in children,
game changer.
Absolute game changer.
Because you'll have a better life, Kieran, when you get to a certain age, depending on when you start. Let's say a child starts at the age of 10, for example. Okay.
Yeah.
And by 25, 30, they'll be in a much more comfortable place. If nothing else, okay, the biggest challenge for people in the UK right now is having the money to put down as a deposit for a house.
Yep.
Well, they'll be in that particular position. At the age of 45, probably, they can afford to, if they want to, retire. Okay? Or they can carry on and build intergenerational wealth, which is what we're talking about, which is the essence of this particular show. Or the purpose of our existence for this show. And once you get to that place, then everything becomes a choice.
Everything is
a choice. Do I want to work? Do I want to work? Who do I want to work with? When do I want to work? How do I want to work? So on and so forth.
Yeah.
Very different to, I've got to wake up and I've got to go to work 9 to 5, and it's a very, very different place to be. And that's why I think it's important to start investing early.
Yep. And I think on the back of that, if you look at some of the wealthier individuals in the world, be it, your Sir Richard Bransons or all the way to Shaquille O'Neal. So Richard Branson, when his son turned 16, I think, I remember reading the story. He took him out, dropped him in the middle of nowhere, gave him a £5 and told him to make his way home. Obviously, he probably kept tabs on him, so he knew he was safe. But he was teaching his son the value of money and the value of ingenuity and, doing some work at a farm to get a little extra money to get home.
Problem solving, thinking independently, what entrepreneurs and what Richard does well.
Shaquille O'Neal, none of his children are entitled to any of his money until they have 2 degrees, one of which has to be a business degree. He's educating, he's forcing them to get educated, but if they want his vast wealth...
Well, he's enticing them, isn't he?
Yeah, if they want his vast wealth, he's got to, and all of the Hiltons, Paris Hilton included, have business degrees. She's not stupid.
Far from it. But this is what you can do. I mean, we're going into something different in terms of legacy, but I know so many business owners and entrepreneurs and property investors who, when they create trusts, they have certain conditions. If you get a degree, you get this. When you start earning X amount, the trust will start paying you Y amount. Okay, so it's having positive behaviour that you approve of. If they do that, which is for their benefit and the benefit of the future generation, you'll get a reward or benefit from the trust.
But 99% of these, and correct me if I'm wrong, are encouragements to be educated, to self-promote, to be financially literate. They don't want the money to go to waste. You look at...
And to work hard and to start investing.
Yeah. You look at a number of lottery winners, because they've never had to manage that amount of money, they get that amount of money and it slips through their fingers.
They spend it.
And it just fritters away. But if they'd been educated as children, which is, what we've been talking about, educated as children, even if they'd never actually managed to amass a large amount of wealth, when they became
they'll know
wealthy,
how to behave.
They'd know how to behave.
To keep it simple, okay? And so 2 or 3 more things I think, Kieron, where people can involve their children is involve them in the weekly shop. Okay?
Yes.
So they can see what it costs, okay, and what the options are, and get them involved. I think talking about different payment methods and how they work and which ones work well, because so many people fall into credit card debt. I think we've all been guilty of that to some extent, okay, and it hurts and cripples us and emotionally scars us. Getting them involved in all that kind of stuff and what to spend, when to spend, how to spend it, I think it's important.
Understanding that it's safer to buy online with a credit card
exactly.
versus your...
all that kind of stuff, you're right, yeah. And so involving them in those spending choices every step of the way, I think is really good. And we covered this before, but I think it's important in terms of sharing with them how much does it cost to run a house.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't realise when they move into a bigger house how much extra it's going to cost them. And they say, my cost doubled or trebled, and I wasn't expecting that. Well, your house is big. No, didn't you think of that?
Yeah.
I told with the gas bill, power, water, council tax, so on and so forth. People don't think through these things because they don't think about them enough.
Well, it's why you have those flights of fancy conversations, don't you? Oh, if I came into X amount of money, I'd buy a house with 17 rooms, 15 bathrooms, a pool room, an Olympic size.
No one talks about investing today. But
Olympic size.
Not enough people talk about investing. If I won 100 million, if you ask everybody, house, jet, yacht, holiday home, spend. No one says, well, hold a minute, I'd invest it and then get some kind of a return and then live off that return.
Yeah, but also, I mean, and it goes back to exactly what you were just saying. Okay, so you're going to buy a 17-bedroom house with 58 bathrooms and, all of this nice fancy stuff, and it's all going to be really, really bougie. What's the cost to run that building?
No idea.
So that building alone is going to set you back £20 million.
But that's why people end up broke, don't they? Yeah. From those we were talking about in terms of who win a significant amount through winning some form of lottery or gambling winnings per se. Okay, easy come, easy go.
Yeah,
but you can only. This is just the tip of the iceberg, by the way, Kieron. But there's so much we can teach children. And if someone's out there, but they think my child's a teenager, 13, 14, 15, I'll just start them early. It's still not too late, by the way.
Absolutely not.
Get them involved now.
And I think also there are, I think a lot of banks are now doing a lot more to help young people become financially educated. I know.
Or parents having hang-ups.
Yeah.
Because they're not doing too well.
Yeah. I mean, I know, Barclays, NatWest, and Lloyd's, off the top of my head, all have accounts that.
And you've got Go Henry and all those sorts. Yeah.
All
but I think just to finish that early observation about which I know you were talking about on the break, which is parents fall into debt and in their mind think they can fail to some extent, and then they don't feel they have the right to tell their children how to manage finances. But I think that could be further from the truth.
And if you really feel like you're not qualified, then get books on it. Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, books like that.
Napoleon Hill, whatever.
Napoleon.
That's right.
They will be invaluable. Invaluable.
Yeah, but just because you're in debt, it doesn't mean you're a failure and you don't have a right to talk about your experiences and to teach your children. Because if you don't teach them, nobody else will. And it's simple as that. And it starts from the home. So if you want to give your children the best education, obviously schooling is good, but I think the financial education to get them ready for life is even better. So that's the end of the show this week. See you same place, same time next week. Assalamu alaikum.